It began with a silence that was heavier than any sound. Thadwick had spent 8 years building his world with Delaney, a world where the quiet was a comfort, a shared breath between two people who understood each other without words. He wasn't the type of man to command a room, not a jock, not a rebel, just a reliable presence who remembered small things and offered steady support. And yet, she had chosen him, telling him he was her calm in the storm. This was the foundation of his reality, and he believed in it completely. So when she mentioned a coastal retreat with her friends, he didn't question it. He helped her pack, his hands briefly touching her wedding ring as it lay still warm in its velvet roll. "You're going to wear this on the trip?" he'd asked, a flicker of something he couldn't name passing through him when she hesitated. "I might leave it," she'd said, a casual excuse about losing it in the ocean. He'd accepted it, his logical mind rationalizing away the brief tightening in his gut. He kissed her forehead, and a part of him, the part that still believed, whispered, "Have a peaceful trip, Laney." The first crack in his world came 3 days later, in a mundane text from his cousin. A screenshot of a fleeting moment from a video montage posted online. The video showed barefoot women laughing by a fire pit, their dresses swaying in the sea breeze. He almost dismissed it until he saw her, Delaney, her sun hat tilted, her head thrown back in laughter as she sat cross-legged on a lounge chair. And beside her, a man, a stranger with his hand resting on her knee. The glint of a ring was conspicuously absent from her left hand. Thadwick's lungs seized. He watched the clip again and again, each loop a confirmation of the impossible. The ring, the symbol of their 8 years, was gone. That night, sleep was a distant country. He stared at the ceiling, a canvas for memories. The 3 months he'd saved for that tiny silver band, the way she'd said yes through tears under a forgotten sculpture in the city, the fierce, meaningful kiss. The past felt both achingly real and like a complete stranger. The next morning, a text from Delaney arrived, a bubble of manufactured cheer. "Hey babe, so relaxed here. You'd love it. We're going horseback riding today." No photo, no mention of him. Just a generic, empty warmth. He couldn't respond. Instead, a new, cold resolve took root. He created a new, anonymous account on a social media site and found the man from the video. His name was Hunter. His public profile was a gallery of sculpted abs and sunglasses, a life lived for the gaze of others. And there, in his feed, was his wife. Not tagged, but unmistakable. In one image, her feet were resting in his lap by a bonfire, the specific curve of her ankle a brand of betrayal. Her laugh, frozen mid-frame, was a foreign, uninhibited joy he hadn't seen in years. The caption was a knife. Some people vibe instantly. The comments were a chorus of complicity, one from a mutual acquaintance cutting deepest. "You pulling married chicks now?" The world tilted. The vows they'd exchanged felt like a joke told only to him. He called her sister, Mallory, a desperate act to find a voice of reason. Mallory's hesitant, careful words confirmed his worst fears. "She hasn't mentioned you at all. Why was she at brunch with that guy?" The last shred of doubt shattered. It wasn't about the ocean or the sand. The ring was gone because it no longer served her. It was an obstacle to the freedom she had craved, the new attention she had sought. He didn't confront her yet. Instead, he printed every screenshot, every comment, laying them on the kitchen table like evidence in a crime he had been too blind to solve. There were signs, in retrospect, a history of tiny absences he had never connected. That night, he packed a duffel bag with a few essentials. He couldn't be there when she returned. On the kitchen counter, he left a note. "I saw everything. Don't call." And then he walked out, leaving their life behind. He stayed at a lonely roadside motel, the popcorn ceiling a topography of his grief. The war inside him raged. The man who still loved her, desperately, and the man who hated her for destroying the version of their life he had believed in. He imagined her return, the creak of the front door, the confused quiet of an empty house, the moment her eyes would fall on those 5 final words. He turned his phone on that afternoon. 15 missed calls, 6 texts, 1 voicemail. The texts transitioned from confusion to panic to a cold, manipulative anger. "I don't understand what you think you saw, but we need to talk. Thad, this isn't fair. You're overreacting. If you're going to punish me for having fun, maybe we should rethink things." The words punish and fun ignited a new, furious clarity. Was it fun to strip off their marriage and drape herself over a stranger for the world to see? The voicemail, shaky but devoid of true remorse, was her performance of a wife in distress. "I took the ring off because it was chafing. Hunter, he was just a friend, a sweet guy." The voice that had once soothed him now sounded like a stranger, poorly impersonating the woman he had loved. He went to his cousin Jeremy's apartment, where the only comfort was the quiet, unquestioning presence of a friend. That night, he made a list. 2 columns. Reasons to stay, reasons to leave. The first column was a sparse, pitiful litany of memories. The second filled the entire page, a cold, hard catalog of lies, detachment, and public humiliation. But a final, desperate need for closure remained. Not for revenge, but for the truth, however ugly. He needed to ask her, face to face, the one question that haunted him. "When did I stop being enough for you?" He texted her, "I'll come by the house tomorrow. Be there." Her instant reply, "Okay, I'll make coffee," was a chilling attempt at normalcy. The next morning, as he drove back, the world outside the car seemed oblivious to the cataclysm within him. The flowers she always forgot to water still wilted. The welcome mat still lay crooked. The house was an illusion of the life they had shared. He found her in the kitchen, curled up in one of his old hoodies, looking small and unmade. For a second he saw panic in her eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by a practiced smile. He didn't sit. "Where's the ring?" he asked, his voice flat. She looked down, then slowly pulled the silver band from her pocket and slid it across the table. "I took it off because I needed a break," she said, "from the pressure, from feeling like a wife instead of a person." Her explanation was a carefully constructed fortress of self-pity. "It wasn't about you. It's always been about me." His voice rose. "You just don't want to admit that." She stood, her own voice rising in a feigned defense. "I didn't cheat on you. I didn't even kiss him. We just talked. He made me feel seen." He laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You're telling me that taking off the symbol of our marriage and cozying up to another man is just nothing?" She hesitated, then said the line that stopped him cold. "I didn't want space from you. I wanted space from me." It was her gift, a way of saying just enough to keep him emotionally tethered. He sat down, needing to look her in the eye. "You don't get to play confused when you made deliberate choices. You took the ring off. You left me in a marriage you still lived in. And when I noticed, you made me the problem." She didn't deny it. "I need to leave," he said quietly. Her face fell, finally showing true fear. "So that's it? You're giving up?" "No," he said. "I'm just finally seeing what's been happening, and I can't unsee it." He placed the ring on the coffee table between them and walked out. But the story wasn't over yet. The bottom of betrayal hadn't been reached. 2 days later, at a coffee shop, his phone buzzed. A message from a name he barely recognized. Trish Bellamy, an old co-worker of Delaney's. "Hey, Thad. I heard what happened. I think you should know Hunter wasn't the first." His blood ran cold. The message continued, detailing late nights at the office with a boss named Byron, a professional intimacy that Trish said everyone had noticed. "Emotional connections are sometimes more dangerous than physical ones," Trish wrote, recalling a line Delaney had once told her. Thadwick called her. The facts, delivered in Trish's low, cautious voice, were a second, deeper wound. Delaney hadn't just betrayed him with one man on a single trip. She'd been a ghost in their marriage for over a year, seeing Byron, then Hunter, using their life together as a prop while she sought something selfish and reckless. He packed what was left of his belongings and moved to Jeremy's. He met with a lawyer, the process cold, simple, and blessedly unemotional. The lawyer told him he'd be all right. Thadwick had already started to believe it. Just as he began to build a new life, to remember who he was before Delaney's lies, she appeared. At his job, in the hallway of the university, leaning against the wall, eyes red with tears. She was wearing a cardigan he'd bought her years ago, a silent plea for memory and forgiveness. He stood in silence, giving her nothing. "I'm so sorry, Thad," she said, her voice shaking. "For all of it. I used your kindness like a shield. You didn't deserve what I did." He finally spoke. "I loved you more than I loved myself," he said, his voice now steady and clear. "But I don't anymore. And that's not hate. That's healing." She swallowed hard, her face a mask of loss. He turned and walked away, not out of punishment, but because he no longer needed anything from her. Life didn't transform overnight. He still had bad days, still wondered about the alternate reality where none of this had happened. But now he lives in a small apartment near the water. He adopted a dog named Winston. He started painting again. His cousin introduced him to a woman named May, who laughs at his awkward jokes and listens without judgment. He is learning to breathe without effort. He had spent so long trying to be a good man for someone who never truly saw him. Now, he is learning how to be that man for himself. The betrayal didn't just end a marriage. It freed him, allowing him to finally rewrite his own story with truth and a future he had made for himself.